Yeah, so, if you listen to folks, especially since the 80s, right, since people have been taking permaculture design courses, at least, a lot of people have taken them, then there's like this underlying critique or underlying like statement, right? Usually after they had like a 2-week experience or 10 Saturdays or 6 months, 1 weekend a month, or like an online course, right? So they just had their brain wrecked in a good way with permaculture, learned some different ways to view the world and critical thinking. And then it's like, okay, my life just changed, but now what, right? And you can kind of go back to, well, really, are you applying yourself? That's probably a really good question to ask yourself if you're in the position of now what. But maybe, just maybe, and the reason I'm making this video is because there's no clarity, right? What can you do? 5 things you can do, right? And that's about it. Maybe 6. So what can you do? So let's just start at the top, right? So the first one, I would say this is probably one of the most meaningful things that anybody can do, is just be an advocate. Right? You just took a permaculture design course, or even if you didn't, you just took one and talk to people, right? You have a brand new way to think, you have a brand new way to critically think, and you become like a weapon for good, right? Permaculture design course teaches you things that are meaningful to the world. You get to go out and like actually make tangible change that people can see, and do that for the benefit of both humans and the rest of the life on earth, including soil. So, advocacy is exceptionally important. So I would say even with a certification or not, that's one of the most important things that all of us can do, is just advocate. So, and that's the first one. Right under advocacy, I would say is practitioner. So, and this is probably why most people take a permaculture design course. They want to do it for themselves. So, the practitioning of permaculture is saying, okay, now I understand the design methodology. I've got the framework in my brain. Now it's time to sit down and go put in my 10,000 hours learning how to do the different things, right? So you're not, especially if you're not exposed to any of this, you're just going to be bad at it. And that is like 100% encouraged, right? If you've never put a seed in of anything, right, just expect to fail absolutely miserably at the beginning. And if you had a good instructor teach you a permaculture design course, they prepped your brain for that. And so then it's kind of like, all right, no big deal. And then your learning curve of your trial and errors become much shorter, because you know what to expect and you have a good general concept through a permaculture design course. But practitioners is another thing that you can do, and that's very valuable to everybody as well, because if you have any kind of success, then you're somewhat of a case study, and then you can say, look, this is where I was at. I knew nothing, or maybe you were a very experienced farmer or grower or cattleman or whatever, and then now this is my my data now that I've introduced permaculture of some tool, right, some utility into that. So underneath that, I would say was consulting, right? So consulting, we got advocacy, practitioning, and consulting, and this is doing permaculture for other people. Now, this and the next one, I would say most people, and myself included, and I didn't get into permaculture to go and go try to make money with permaculture, believe it or not. And I've been criticized and at the same time praised for purposely being the most expensive permaculture design consultant in my region. And I didn't do that to go out and make billions of theoretical dollars or real dollars. I did that because I knew, like, looking at the yoga industry it's great, right? And so you got this industry that it's like everybody's real hot on it, and then everybody went to go be an instructor, and now everybody opens up a yoga studio, and then without some clear-mindedness of, like, don't undercut your supposed competition, and then you undercut, and all of a sudden, you become this commodity that then you're going to you're going to need yoga to get rid of the stress of running a darn yoga business, right? So I purposely set out to be the highest price person, not to get the most jobs. I could really only do 3 jobs at a time if I want to do them well, over like a 3-month period minimum, right? So it's flexible, but basically, so it's not like I'm trying to go capitalize the market. I'm trying to help the friggin' market of permaculturists in my region, so they can do something well with it if they did want to make money with it. But that's also another critique, is can you just take the permaculture design course and go out and be a consultant? Technically yes, but most of us get other education, right? So that's just something to think about. And I would say the same thing for the next thing you could do, which is teaching, right? So technically, you can go teach after you get your permaculture design certificate, but myself included, most people who teach usually go and get a wide variety of different experiences and other education to add on top of that. And really, good teachers just continually learn all the time, right? You're just sharpening that sword and just all the time learning. So that's the other thing you could do, right? So it's advocate, practitioner, consultant, and teacher. And the last thing you can do is higher learning. So this is continually learning, right? How do you always sharpen yourself and sharpen your brain, right? Why didn't mycorrhizae fungi associate with brassicas, or why doesn't it do that? Well, that's a darn good question, right? And most permaculture design courses don't go into that. So that's good, right? What are the different, 5, 6, 7, 8 different foundation methods of working with buildings and architecture that are of somewhat of a sustainable way to do it, right? What are the different climates on different islands? Like that's all great. That's higher learning, right? You continue to learn, and you can also learn through trial and error. So it ties in both with teaching and advocacy and being a practitioner. So the higher learning is exceptionally good. And I guess if we wanted to add 6, we can say do nothing, right? And who wants to do that, right? Once you get the tool set, you get that brain going, and you're like, okay, I understand this, man. Then you can be unleashed to the world. Then you can go out and make something absolutely positive, right? You can, at least at minimum, create a place where there's less suffering, right? I look at it as I can go love people through permaculture, right? These are meaningful things, right? It's not like you're just going to go and go to a job because the reason that you go to a job is because you have to get paid because nobody wants to do it. This isn't the same thing. This is like noble work. You get to go out there and do meaningful stuff for people. So, there you go. That's what you can do after a permaculture design course. Get in gear. Go do it. Go be amazing. And tell everybody about it, right? I want to know your story. Yeah, so, yeah.